Hello and welcome to today's video. In this video, we are going to study land use planning in India. First of all, we have already studied the land capability classifications in the previous video. You can check the video. It is a very detailed explanation. Okay. In this video, we are going to study about the land use planning in India. So first of all, let's understand what is land use planning. What is the meaning of land use planning? See, the land use planning is the systematic assessment of land and water potential, alternatives for land use and economic, social conditions in order to select and adopt the best land use options. And this definition is given by Food and Agriculture Organization in 1993. So let's understand it bit by bit what is the definition is trying to tell us. So first of all, land use planning is a systematic assessment. Okay, so what is it trying to tell us? It is a process. Land use planning is a process of assessment. Which kind of assessment? A systematic kind of assessment. See, if you remember the definition of research, what do you say? What is research? How you define it? Research is the systematic investigation. What do we say? We say that research is the systematic investigations. Why we say systematic? Because we follow scientific and rigorous method to investigate a question, a knowledge or a fact. That's why we say it is a systematic. So when we are saying land use planning is a systematic, means it is a scientific assessment of land and water potential. So what we are assessing? We are assessing the potential of a land, what the land can be used for, and also how much the water is present there and how can we use the water also, because there are also multiple uses of water. As you know, one is for the industrial purposes, one is for the household purposes, and one is for the electricity generation purposes, one is for the navigation purposes. See, water has a lot of potential and every water body cannot be used as navigation, as electricity generation, as industrial industrial uses. There should be some criteria that water body should clear to get used into different sectors. Likewise, when we are saying that land use potential, so what are the uses of land? Basically, the land use has been classified. If you have not seen the video, the land capability classification, please go and check the video. It is a very beautiful and detailed explanations. Okay, whenever I am explaining something, I am trying to explain it in such a way even the first time learner like the graduation students and also the advanced learners, the master and PhD students will also get benefited from that video. Okay, so let's see what is the potential of land. Land has two uses. One is divided into two uses by the government and by the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, and USDA department. That is, one is for agricultural uses and another is non-agricultural uses. Okay, so the land potential is basically defined into these two categories. And under non-agricultural, what are there? They are residential purposes, and they are for the commerce purposes, for industry and all, and also they can be used for recreational purposes. Also, they will be used for reserve forest. See, there are these multiple options of land potential. So we have to scientifically assess and we have to scientifically declare what the land should be used for the best of its use and the water potential of a specific area. The alternatives for land use and economic and social conditions. So what we are trying to see? We are trying to see the alternatives of land use. As I have said, these are the alternatives: agriculture, non-agriculture, these are there. And also economic and social conditions. According to the social conditions also, you should consider the social conditions of an area while deciding the use of land, that what kind of use that land should undergo through. So now, in order to select and adopt the best land use options, so what we are trying to do here, we are trying to select and adopt the best land use options. Okay, hope the definition is very much clear, and the Food and Agricultural Organization has defined the definitions. Okay, so now here is another definition the American Planning Association has given. It defines it as the process of regulating. Okay, here what we have to keep in mind: process of regulating the use of land to promote more desirable social and environmental outcomes. So what land use planning basically is? It is about regulating the uses. Okay, and use of land. We regulate this land should be used in this way, this land should not be used in this way. So what we are doing here, basically we are regulating the use of land. And what is our motto behind this regulation? Our motto is to promote what? To promote more desirable social and environmental outcomes. Okay, so let's get into the importance of land use planning. So first of all, there are majorly four important we can say. One is food security, another is environmental conservation, managing urban sprawl, resource optimization. See, why food security is one of the important aspect of land use planning, because when India got independent, okay, in the year 1947, when India got independent, our country was literally struggling from hunger. People, there was not enough cereals. That's why there came the green revolution, the white revolution, the blue revolution. Every kind of food and all things were there in the first 5-year plan. It was, the priority was given to agriculture, so that people will be having enough food in their plate, and a hungry nation cannot get developed. First of all, people should get all the nutrition at least 2 times a meal per day. That was the target of our country. See from what kind of condition now the India has undergone through. So that's why the food security was a priority while doing the land use planning, and today also food security is a priority. So how to ensure the food security? It is ensured by protects highly fertile net zone area from urban encroachment and degradation. See what is fertile? You know what is fertile land? Where agriculture prospers. And what is net zone area? Net zone area means the size of land that is cultivable. Okay, so what happens? I will explain this net zone area and other definitions in later on in this video. For now, let's understand this much. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to protect the agricultural land from urban encroachment and from degradation. We are trying to conserve the land. And the second thing is that the environmental conservation prevents the destruction of fragile ecosystem, wetlands and forests by demarcating strict green belts. See, there are so many green belts in India, and they are the lungs of what we say, our country. They provide enough amount of oxygen and other things to us, and we could not destroy those lands. We see, as we are studying land use planning, everything seems so beautiful that we are so much worried about the environment. We are so much trying to do everything in a very structured way. But what happens in reality, everybody knows that. Okay, but at least we should know it for our understanding, for making our own understanding better about how the land should use and what is the current scenario and the use of land. See, take the example of Aravalli Hills, take the examples of Hasdeo Jungle, take the example of Sijimali Hills of Koraput. Take the example of Andaman Nicobar Island. You can Google all these things what I have said just now and see what currently is happening in these green belts of India. They are completely being sold to Adani, Ambani and all these corporate sectors, Vedant and all these sectors, so that they could do mining in these areas, and they could earn in crores and whatever for themselves. Okay, so let's get back to our topic, managing urban sprawl. Another important thing is that the urban areas grow very rapidly. People go migrate for work and other things. So what happens? The city becomes chaotic. So what urbanization and land use planning does is that it tries to keep the residential area away from the commercial area, like the marketplace should be in a different part of the city. Residential area should be different in the different part of the city, and the industrial area should be in a different part of the city, and then should be also green belt, green zone in a city. Likewise, the city planner, the urban planner tries to do that. So if you have visited any planned city, for example Chandigarh and Bhubaneswar, these are the planned city of India, you will see the residential areas are only served as residential area, and you will see market areas are only served as the market area. There is no in the new town, there is no intermixing of land use. People use the land separately. In residential area, you cannot construct shopping mall, you cannot have big market complex. For market complex, you have to take permission from the municipality corporation, and then you can build a market or shop or whatever you want to build. That is what happens in the urban sprawl. And then resource optimization is also one of the important aspect of land use planning, which ensures that limited land resources are allocated efficiently based on their land capability classification. See, here again we are discussing about land capability classification. So you should know what is land capability classification. Okay, now coming to the next slide. Now we will see how land use planning is done in India. Basically, we can say land use planning occurs in two distinct ways. One is for the rural and agricultural land use planning, okay, and another is for the urban and peri-urban land use planning. So what rural and agricultural land use planning focuses on, and what is its motive, and what is the urban and peri-urban land use planning is? First of all, it focuses on the resource conservation and agricultural sustainability. First of all, the rural and agricultural land use planning mostly focuses on the resource conservation and agricultural sustainability. It utilizes the statutory ninefold land use classification. Here is an important terminology: ninefold land use classification. Okay, so I will explain it in another video, and I will give the explanations, the link of the video in the description. You can go and watch what are the ninefold classifications of land use planning. Okay, see, one more important thing is that I will explain it a little here. You have heard about the net zone area, the forest area, the cultivable fallow land, the current fallow, wasteland. These are the types of ninefold classification that has been given by Ministry of Agriculture and Food of India. Okay, so we will see that later on, but now let's understand what is the rural planners try, or rural and agricultural land use planners try to do for the country, and what urban and peri-urban planners try to do for the country. Okay, now system to monitor every parcel of land. Execution relies on agroclimatic zoning and watershed management programs to optimize rural land without industrial conflict. Okay, and then what peri-urban and urban planners do focuses on managing density, infrastructure, and zoning regulations. Okay, they try to manage the density of a city. What happens in a city, a lot of people prefers to stay in the city center, so that they will not have to travel far away places to the marketplace or to their workplace. What happens as a result of that? Traffic congestion and the density of the population increases, and it becomes suffocating in the city areas. And the urban and peri-urban planners try to deviate the population towards the outer area of the city, so that what will happen, the living condition will be more livable. And the infrastructure development and zoning regulations, they do zoning. I have already said the one zone is for residence, one zone is for commerce, one zone is for industry, one zone is for green area or for the blue green space, all these things. It utilizes 20 years statistics master plans or developmental plans for cities. Okay, what they do, they use a 20-year plan. Okay, they try to plan for next 20 years. It is governed by frameworks like what, and for the plan, for the 20-year plan, what they do, if you are planning something, you need to follow some guidelines and some frameworks. So they follow the URDPFI guidelines. Okay, so what is URDPFI? It is Urban Regional Development Plans Formulations and Implementation. Okay, it is the full form of URDPI is Urban Regional Developmental Plans Formulation and Implementation. Okay, it is a comprehensive set of guidelines and standards established by the Government of India. Okay, under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, which was formerly known as the Ministry of Urban Development. Okay, and what they do, they try to guide and the spatial planning, the land use and urban development. Okay, and all these things. So now you know what is URDPFI, and urban planning explicitly dictates the floor area ratios and strictly segregation of commercial and residential areas. So what is their task is? Their task is to segregate the commercial area from the residential area. So what do you understand by commerce area? I hope you understand what is the meaning of commerce area. Means the place, marketplace. Okay, and the residential area means where people live, the housing area. Now, what is floor area ratio? Floor area ratio means, see, suppose you have a house here and your plot has this much of land, that is suppose 1 acre. So the town planners, the urban planners will decide how much story of building you can put in that one plot. Okay, that particular area of plot, because it will decide the density of population in that core of the city. Suppose there are this much of plots and you are doing vertically, skyscrapers, you are building skyscrapers. So what will happen? The density of population will get so much that it will be again become congested, and all the water resources, all the oxygen and everything will come under pressure. So that's why you need to, the planners need to see, check and regulate the floor area ratio. Hope you understand what is floor area ratio. Now let's see the administrative hierarchy and agencies which govern the land use planning in India. This is important, and most of the students, and even I would say, many people do not know this concept, that who and how the land planning is done in here. So first of all, in India, it is a very complex process. First of all, the national level work is that the ministries and the Niti Aayog. I will discuss which ministry does what and give regulations to which kind of land use. Okay. And the Niti Aayog, what they do? They formulate overarching national guidelines. They give the guidelines and set the environmental standards. See, you remember when we in the Aravalli hills, they gave that the hills which are not 100-meter above will be considered as not as Aravalli. Like that, they define the environmental standards and allocate centralized budget for modernization or land use planning and whatever. So what is the national level task? The task of the center is to first provide the guidelines to the states, okay, and provide the framework, the guideline, the framework, and their second task is to provide the fund to execute the plan. Okay, these two things are the work of national level, the central government. Okay, and who are responsible for this? One is ministries and Niti Aayog. They work for these two purposes. Then comes the state level. Now, after the guidelines and fund is allocated, what happens? The state level. The land use planning is done actually in the state level, because land is a state subject, and state town and country planning department holds the ultimate legislative power to pass laws and enforce zoning. So who holds the power? Who has the legislative power? The state town and country planning department. Who? State town and country planning department. Okay, this department comes under the state government, and this holds the power to pass laws and enforce zoning. When we are saying that an industry is trying to get set up in a particular area, who will give the permission? The state level organizations, state level department, that is the state town and country planning department gives the permission. Hope you keep this thing in mind. And land comes under the state subject. Okay, what do you understand by state subject? In the Indian Constitution, okay, 7th schedule, that is written that land management will be taken care under the state level. Why it is said as that? Because land is a very local thing, and the local people, for the purpose of decentralization of power and for the grassroots level implementation of the development, this power is given to the state to zone and to do all the land use planning processes. Okay, now coming to that, the next hierarchy, to more decentralize the process and to make the process more beneficial for the locals who live in that particular area, the implementation power is given to district and local level. The district planning committees, municipalities and gram panchayat. Remember, municipalities and gram panchayat execute master plans which have been developed in the state level program, and they execute the master plan and govern village commons at the grassroots level. Okay, hope you now understood what I am trying to say. The hierarchy, first the national level. Let me erase the page. So let's understand the hierarchy. First, on national level, there are ministries and Niti Aayog. What they do? They set some goals, okay, for the country, and they allocate funds. They provide guidelines. Then what happens? And they provide guidelines for all the 29 states and all the 7 or 8 union territories, whatever we have. For them, they provide a general guideline. They provide a general universal guideline for all the states. And now it is up to each state that they will work under the guidelines. They will work under the framework that is given by Niti Aayog, that is given by other ministries. Okay, so what they will do? They will work whatever the guidelines say under the rules and regulations, and they will formulate some of the plans, some of the projects they will sanction. Okay, and what will happen then? That plan, that master plan, will get to the municipalities, to the gram panchayats, and the gram panchayat executive officers, the PEOs, and the block development officers. What they do, they execute the plans in the grassroots level. Now I hope you clearly understood the multi-tier framework of land use planning in India, and what is the work at national level that is done. Okay, what is state level work, what is district and local level work, and who are engaged in this. Okay, now let's get into the one of the most important points, that who formulate the guidelines. I says ministry. So which ministry? The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Okay, drafts the URDPFI guidelines for urban zoning. Okay, so already I have explained what is URDPFI, Urban and Regional Development Plans Formulation and Implementation Guidelines. Okay, you can go and check it in the Google by typing this URDPFI guidelines. What are the guidelines for urban and planning zoning? If you are working under this for your research project or whatever, if your specialization is town planning, you can go and check these guidelines. Okay, and currently the Department of Land Resources crafts rural mapping policies. So who does the rural mapping? Department of Land Resources. Okay, and while what is the work of Niti Aayog right now? Niti Aayog provides the macro level policy blueprints like National Land Use Policy. Okay, Niti Aayog gives the macro level. Macro level means national level blueprints. Okay, that what each district, what each gram panchayat inside India should work under, what kind of rules and regulations, and they should not cross these limits, and they should follow the guidelines that is given by the Niti Aayog. Hope now you understand the ministries who deal with what. So Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, they work for the urban area. What I have already discussed in this slide, that there are two kind of land use planning that is done. One is for rural and agriculture, another is for urban and peri-urban. So for rural and agriculture, which ministry? Department of Land Use Resources, they do the thing, and for urban and peri-urban, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, they manage all the things. Okay, and Niti Aayog provides the guidelines, national level guidelines. Okay, now let's understand who are the major funding and sanctioning agencies. Okay, first of all, the Department of Land Resources. Okay, they sanction 100% central funding for digital land records modernizing program, and to digitize textual records and cadastral maps. This is the first thing. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs releases massive capital for urban infrastructure tied directly to land use reforms through schemes like Amrut and Smart City missions. So what is Amrut? Amrut is Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. Okay, and what is Smart City Mission? It is a mission to make the cities smart, livable, and like to make the city a better place to live and do commerce, do business, and all the thing. Okay, and what is the National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation? This is another agency that provide or sanction the fund that comes under the DPIIT. So what is the meaning of DPIIT? Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It comes under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. It finances the acquisition and development of vast swaths of land to create plug and play manufacturing hubs across the state. So what is plug and play? Plug and play means they will clean and make a land so much in a good condition by leveling the land and fortifying the area, so that startup companies could directly come there, and they do not need to do all the paperwork and all the foundational work to start their business. They will just come and everything will be there in their plate that will be solved, and they will just start their company by establishing their building and everything. So that is what is called as the plug and play manufacturing hub across the states to make the ease of business for the startup companies. This is an initiative. So who gave the fund for this, all this development of this vast swath of land? That is, the fund will come from the National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation. Now let's talk about CAMPA. Okay, the compensatory afforestation fund. This is governed by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. It disburses penalty funds collected from industrial forest diversions specifically to buy and develop non-forest land afforestation. See what we are seeing here. See the place like the Angul and Talcher, these are industrial areas. This place has become non-livable right now. So much of pollution is there. If you are an outsider and you are going to stay there for 2 months, you will get into severe diseases, because of the coal mining that is happening there since maybe around 50 years, 40 or 30 years, whatever. So the area has become like not livable right now. The temperature is very high, the water is polluted, the air is polluted. But the company which is extracting the coal from there, that company should provide some corporate responsibility fund to the that fund is collected by Campa, and what they do out of that fund, they give some of their profit share to the government, so that that profit could be utilized to recover whatever damage that has been done by the mining areas to that place. But see, is it happening in our country? If you travel and see the industrial areas, the nearby areas, the residential area, a lot of villages that get destructed, people could not live under there. So but there is a ministry to look after this and take the fund and do it for the development of non-forest land for afforestation. Okay, so this is all about the funding agency. Now coming to the implementing agency. So who implements all these plans that has been formulated, all the funds, everything? Grassroots execution, who does that? While the center funds and advises, what center give the fund and advice. Now we have discussed this. The actual enforcement on the ground falls to the state machinery. So who does the implementing? It is done by the state. Okay, state revenue departments maintain the physical cadastral maps. All we know, the revenue departments, they maintain the cadastral map and ownership records. In rural, in the block development officers, gram panchayat execute localized watershed and agricultural plans. Okay, in urban setting, the urban local bodies such as municipality corporation and specific urban development authorities hold the legal authority to approve layouts and demolish illegal construction. I hope you have all seen how they demolish the illegal construction. So now let's talk about the reality of planning in India. What is written in the big guidelines and frameworks and what is actually happening in India. Let's see the reality. Despite the rigid nine-fold classification, massive tracts of highly fertile agricultural land are routinely converted for real estate and industrial corridors. As we know what is happening in India, master plans in cities are often bypassed through regularization and unauthorized colonies, rendering spatial zoning ineffective, and outdated physical cadastral maps leads to endless litigation, paralyzing the major infrastructure projects. Now, there is a distinct lack of a single window clearance system. In India, we lack a single window clearance system, causing horizontal coordination failures between the forest, revenue, and urban departments. So, this is the reality that the planning of India what now undergoes through. Okay, so let's see what are the major problems in land use planning in India currently. The fragmentation of holdings. First of all, this is a very big problem. And second thing is the ecological degradation. What is happening? The average size of agricultural land holdings in India is less than 1.1 hectares. So planning large-scale irrigation, mechanized farming or conservation across millions of tiny fragmented plot is exceptionally difficult. This is the first problem. The second problem is the poor enforcement of land capability metrics leads to farming on marginal lands. So what are marginal lands that we have discussed in the land capability classification that comes from under the class 4 to class 8. This triggers several soil erosions, waterlogging and diversification, actively shifting land into wasteland category. So now looking forward for the tech-driven planning for the future, India is rapidly transitioning to digital geospatial ecosystem to bypass the bureaucratic bottlenecks. The Swamitva scheme utilizes drone mapping for precise rural property demarcation, while the Bhu Aadhaar UL PIN assigns a unique 14-digit GIS coordinate ID to every land parcel to ensure transparent, litigation-free spatial planning. So this is a very important information to all of you that now India is going digital. So in this way, with the help of drone and GIS ecosystem, what India is trying to do, India is trying to map each and every bit and parcel of land of India, whether it is rural or urban areas, and they are providing through the Bhu Aadhaar, that is UL pin. They are providing UL pin means the 14-digit alphanumeric code that contains the GIS coordinate ID of the land to each and every person who owns the land. So that what is happening, a lot of land dispute and all the different cases are now minimized. That has been minimized. Okay, and see here it is written the bypass the bureaucratic bottlenecks. Why it is written as bureaucratic bottlenecks? Because all of us know what happens, that the bureaucratic means the tahsil of office has the all the power to all the land disputes, and there a lot of corruption happens. So to bypass that, now what is happening, everything is happening on digital. They are trying to make the things digital. Okay, so now we have come to the end of the topic, and it was a very elaborated and very detailed explanation of land use planning, how it happens in India. So hope you have liked the session. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification to get information regarding any further update.